There's been lots of exposure and disclosure recently of the deep state shenanigans. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. And also, near the end, we're going to be doing an exercise for your intuition about one of these circumstances. So stick with us. The first one we want to talk about is something that happened. MSNBC reported a really big hit piece on the Epoch Times and connected Edge of Wonder to it. And Edge of Wonder is the two guys used to work at Epoch Times, but they aren't connected to it anymore. The Edge of Wonder is a totally separate thing. And they showed some film from it. They showed David Wilcock talking and some titles of various programs that they did, and even saying, they have 33 million views, which is like, hello, can you advertise for us more than that? Ben and Rob said that their subscriber list went significantly higher afterwards.
It's always the case, isn't it? I remember there's always been a show business thing. All publicity is good publicity, you
exactly.
know? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You think they'd figure out by now.
I know.
I think, the world is waking up. That's good news. There's also been a whistleblower on Google. A guy came out through Project Veritas and a document dump where he says basically his motivation for releasing these documents is because he wanted to make sure our election wasn't compromised, and that within Google they are working to make sure Trump never happens again. And he said you wouldn't believe the colossal scale, I quote, of the operation. So it's coming out, they can't just distort reality as the way they have been. Another interesting interview I saw was Joe DeGeneva, who is an attorney, Washington, D.C. attorney, and in the know of a lot of things. And the bottom line is that the IG report, which is Horowitz, has been released. It's been circulating around, and it found that all 4 FISA warrants were illegal. So if you want to just quickly what the timeline was of what he explained to it, is that the NSA has all of Clinton's supposedly deleted emails. Basically, he said they have everything because they track what are called the switches, which all the information comes through. So they've got everything on everything. And he asked, well, the FBI knows this because there is a certain process that they use to be able to access that information because they're not supposed to be looking at it otherwise. So the FBI knows they could have gotten these emails. Why didn't they?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the timeline is that Admiral Rogers went to the FISA court to tell them that there was illegal spying going on. This is back in 2016. And so they sort of closed that window. At this point, the guys, McCabe and Comey and all those fellows, they went in and tried to get a FISA warrant and were denied. And they're trying to get it against Carter Page, who has worked for the Trump administration, and they were denied. Then came the Steele dossier, which got them the first FISA warrant, which was signed by, I think that one was Comey, James Comey. Comey did the first, and the others were by Rod Rosenstein, who has testified under oath that he didn't actually read it. He just let somebody else tell him what it was, and he just signed it. I don't know if that's just plausible deniability or if he actually works that way. It's like your job, right?
I was going to say, surely that wouldn't actually get him off because he's still responsible for what he signed.
Right. Yeah. So it all started with Admiral Rogers, right, who went to Trump and said, you're being spied on, and they moved their campaign offices because of it. So he was talking about him being a real hero. They're going to they need to put his face on a bill and stuff like that because he basically saved the election. It's kind of funny. Interesting stuff happening.
Interesting. And there was the comment a long time before Q got taken down, when HM got taken down. They said that August will be very hot. And so we were all debating for such a long time, what does that mean? Does that mean the arrests are going to happen? No, not yet. But really, there have been some literal hot things. We've had the Amazon being all set on fire at the same time, which is curious. Why was that all planned at the same time? Horrifying. And yet it hasn't been on, it took weeks before it hit the media here in Australia. 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's been going that long. It's only just started showing up because it's showing up on social media and everyone's going, why is this not on the television? What are you doing? You think you're a news outlet and you're not actually mentioning it. That's crazy. So that's one hot thing. I also noticed there was a big church in Philadelphia that went up in flames as well. That was 2 days ago. There's also fires in Siberia as well. So we're looking at these attacks are happening on the biggest places where there are trees. It almost makes me want to go out and let's just immediately start planting trees everywhere as fast as we can. We've got to keep the balance. I know that there are some saying it's the lungs of the world, we're all going to die, and others are saying, no, that's rubbish. Look, let's just plant some trees. This is how the earth naturally was. We need more of those. Now, I also saw a video that was on social media of the Hong Kong protests, which are still continuing. They, again, don't get a lot of press, same as the Yellow Vest protests in France. Don't get a lot of press. They think it's probably boring or we don't want to stir up too many people to do the same. But in Hong Kong, there was this video that Jordan Sather put out, actually, of the facial recognition towers that have been put up in Hong Kong, and they were cutting them down, like these big metal poles, getting out the grinders so that the whole tower would fall down and destroy it. And then, being Hong Kong, of course, they picked up all the pieces and put it in the bin. They're so responsible at the same time, but they're not interested in facial recognition software. Because I remember it was only a few weeks back, a discussion I'd watched around the idea of this police state coming into being, where somebody jaywalked. I don't know if it was in China or in Hong Kong. Somebody jaywalked and then immediately the fine got taken out of their bank account. It just said, wow, this is you crossing the road, jaywalking is an offence, this is how much the fine is, and we've taken the money. Took it out of his account. That's
scary.
So that's what the young ones were talking about. So whether that is what caused them to take these facial recognition towers down or not, I'm not sure. But, why else do you need them, really? It's over the top. And so it's interesting to watch Hong Kong with all their umbrellas up because they do not want to be recognised. They all have their masks on so that they can do what they want to do. A lot less violent than France. France has always been violent when they want the people to stand up and do things, extremely violent. But you're talking about thousands of years of culture doing that.
Well, it's spreading like a virus. They had a sign, "Make Hong Kong Great Again,"
Oh, really?
I remember my local leftist guy who talks on the radio that I listen to saying about, Trump is like a virus. He's spreading everywhere. And I'm like, yeah. That's an okay thing.
Everybody's tired of the way things used to be done. We want something new and fresh and someone who is rude and speaks the truth. And, they want something different.
Oh. And somebody who puts a Q on their table at the G7.
Oh, yes.
That is so cute. You can see right here, he has the only one who has this extra cable by his microphone, and it's carefully coiled into shape of a Q.
So
I think that
cute.
Was a lovely little hint. And another hot thing is Patrick Byrne. Who knows? Hey, it's just fun. But he has just recently resigned from being the president of Overstock.com, which is like an Amazon on online sales of products. And he said the reason he resigned is because he was ready to come out and tell some really challenging truths, that he'd been involved in spying of Hillary Clinton, Mark Rubio, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump. And what happened was he was approached. He said he'd worked with the FBI a couple times before for the something that had to do with the murder of a friend of his and then a Wall Street situation. So when they came back to him again, he was like, okay, I'll take this on. They asked him to date this woman whose name is Maria Butina, who's a Russian spy. She's convicted. She's in prison now. And they asked him to date her. And he didn't know who it was coming from. He said it was coming from up, really high. He calls them the men in black. And he said, don't think it's the FBI. The FBI was just following orders. It's way above him. I'm going to call them XYZ. I'm not going to name their names. So what's interesting about this is it proves that espionage, spying. When William Barr was talking about spying, he says, "Yeah, it's spying." And then the whole
Nobody
media is
wants
like,
to.
"Don't use that word. Not that word. That's a bad word."
Call it anything
But
but the real thing, really.
right. And when you consider this, those are two spying situations. What he was doing, trying with this Russian spy, and then what we looked at before of the spying through the illegal FISA warrants. So spying is up. It's big. So
But you weren't sure about when you watched Patrick Byrne from Overstock. You were saying that you weren't sure about whether he was telling the truth.
there are some questions.
All right.
The reason that people are questioning it is that why did he throw Clinton in there? Why would the deep state be spying on Clinton? Is that just in there to try to make her look innocent? Is it, is it also another speculation? Is that in order to get both sides to report on this? So it gets brought up, not just hidden by the left side? I don't know. But that's what we want to look at. I did look at some earlier videos of his on YouTube, not about this, but just talking about blockchain and Bitcoin and stuff, which he's very involved in. And he did do a presentation where he promoted some Clinton Global Initiative and things like that, which made me kind of go, but who knows?
We don't know. Yeah, because there's so many people, I think, who are ignorant of what's going on, that go out there and make hand signals that are like Satanists because they think it's kind of cool, because pop stars do it, and making jokes about pizza because that's what everyone's talking about. And they don't know, they don't understand that. So you can't really, you can't point the finger at every person who's making jokes about these things because they just don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, I think the way I was sort of looking at it was, all right, so if it's, let's speculate going forward, if he's sort of like a controlled disclosure, and then what happens? Where does it lead us? This okay, well, Clinton's innocent, but wait, more digging is going to prove that otherwise.
Right.
Plus, he said he's been threatened that they're going to grind him into dust, that the whole Washington, D.C. community is now after him. One thing does seem plausible is that he said he waited. He didn't come out with this until recently because he wanted the rule of law to be back in this country. He didn't trust Jeff Sessions. Once Bill Barr got into place, then he felt like he could bring this information forward, which they have completely. They have all of that. They know everything he knows. So it's being investigated. So even if he does say Clinton was part of being spied on, they'll figure it out. And then looking at the other side of it, if he is sincere and Bombard's body language, she did a video on him saying, yeah, he's really nervous. It's obvious that he's nervous, but that his body is singing with what he's saying, which speaks of truth. Okay. So she thought he was telling the truth. So how do we know? How do you use your intuition on this? If you've watched the video or you know anything about it, what was your sense of him? Try to take out your own political agenda and just sort of get a sense of that person. Who is that person? Mm-hmm. And my sense of him was that he's probably a pretty nice guy. I mean, he doesn't have that icky gacky feel that some people do when they're into nasty stuff.
Okay, well, shall we watch it then? So I'll just play it without any sound.
Well, you can see how he's using his hands. His hands are moving with what he's describing. So when you have your body doesn't lie is the idea behind it.
Right.
So his hands are trying to tell the same story that his mouth is telling.
Right.
And he does seem quite earnest.
Yeah, these narrow eyes are bothering me somehow. You see how they're getting really narrow? It's like, mind you, sometimes you see people that are lying and they tell you things with really big eyes. It's
the
quite
big
the opposite.
eyebrows. No, I swear, I'm
Yeah,
telling the truth. We
yeah,
know Hillary Clinton has the giant lying
exactly. Yeah,
eyebrows.
the big eye thing going on, whereas he's squinting a fair bit. Well, that's even easier. Thank you for taking the hat off. He looks exhausted, actually.
He looks very stressed, doesn't he?
He does.
And then the other thing you can tell is where eye movement goes. Where is he looking to visual memory, or is he
Yeah, there's
looking
none of
into?
that.
No, he's not looking into memory. And he did in several of his interviews repeat the exact same way of saying something. Like I sat in
Like
the
he's
room
got a
with people
routine.
on this.
Right.
Yes, so he has planned this somewhat,
Yeah.
and he seems like he wants to be really careful about not saying certain things, and started going down certain, well, then he goes, oh, wait, I don't want to talk about that.
Those eyes are terrified when I look at them.
Yeah, I think so.
Or is he just those topic? Is he getting all? Oh yeah, it looks like he's getting all emotional now.
Uh-huh. So, logically, yeah, see all the emotion that's there?
He's still wincing. There's closing the eyes.
His eyes are tearing up a little bit. He's looking down like, ugh. I mean, he feels sincere. And, I asked, put that question to yourself and activate your truthometer and say, is he telling the truth? Now, what I would say, though, is he's also adjusted the story a little bit, I think, to try to make him look more innocent. I think
bet.
he feels guilty.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, I thought I was doing a good thing, and it's not the FBI. And he feels bad about having a relationship with this woman, a romantic sexual relationship with this woman that was insincere. So I think he feels pretty guilty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, it's I don't know if I can pick the truth in there because it's a mixture of things to me, but he just looks terrified. So whether it's because he's about to get accused of something, or whether he felt he should have done something, or whether somebody is still watching over him, there's various reasons as to why that could be. It doesn't feel very intuitive for me. Normally I kind of go, oh, I get that.
Well, I think it's because there's a mix.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it hard, is that there's sincerity. There's also some slippery, sort of not quite fully true things that just don't ring just honest and straight to me.
Yeah.
But then, so intuitively, I think that he's mostly telling the true story. Whether he put the Clinton thing in there is a political motivation, I think we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that are deliberately putting out disinformation at the moment. Those that are trying to cover their butt, those that are trying to tell the truth, those that have bent it a bit so they look better. It's such a mix at the moment. And which evidence do we listen to as to which one's going to be the truth when you take it back to court in the end? To be able for the jury to be able to go, that one's lying and that one's not, and that one's just lying for 5 seconds and now they're telling the truth, and whoo, wow.
It's hard.
It is.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you at the next conversation. Bye.
Bye.